Warning! I'm going to talk about how good a puzzle game is. In doing so, I'm going to explain the variety of mechanics on offer. It's pretty safe to say that these are very minor spoilers, so keep it in your pants. In this modern day, there's so much hustle and bustle that sometimes we could all benefit from just taking it easy. Art of Balance presents itself as the screen addict's equivalent of cultivating a bonsai tree.
This is nice.
Developed by Shin'en games, it's effectively a HD remake of a Wii game that was also released on the 3DS. There are some minor changes, namely an expanded multiplayer and better physics processing. The game's also in 1080p with a solid 60 frames per second. The bulk of the game is the arcade mode, which boasts 200 unique puzzles. It's split into 8 worlds, and there's a decent number of things you'll encounter along the way to spice things up. By the end, you'll have experienced pretty much every conceivable combination of these mechanics. They are as follows. 1. Blocks with weight limits. 2. Blocks that break soon after being touched. 3. Blocks that smash when they touch another block of the same type. 4. Blocks that cause gravity to invert. 5. Balance beams that make things really awkward. 6. Set-piece blocks that move one another based on how much weight they bear. 7. A required height to pass the stage. And 8. A timer. Holy fuck, some of these timers are cruel. The difficulty curve for the levels is solid. The 8 worlds aren't strictly delineated based on mechanics, but the progression between worlds feels natural and you'll be encountering all these different mechanics slowly. I only had to move on from a puzzle and come back later twice. Both times I ended up having a eureka moment and feeling all proud. The arcade mode lasted probably around 7 hours, and to be honest, I was playing it in perhaps not the most zen way. I was amped up on coffee, and I tried to blast through it with novel solutions where possible, and I ended up cheesing my way through some of the puzzles. This is possible as once you set your final piece, you get a 3-second timer, and sometimes you'll pass with milliseconds left before you would have lost. I'm fairly confident you can expect a decent chunk more time if you're embracing the zen manner of approach. The gameplay was generally seamless, however towards the end there were a few levels that were a bit, interesting? Unexplained jankiness aside, the game got really hard and ended around the right time. I would have maybe appreciated an obscenely difficult hidden world upon completion, but it does legitimately get very hard. This is pretty evident by the amount of tries I had on the later stages. Aside from the arcade mode, which is just single player and isn't really arcadey, there are 3 other modes. In the endurance mode, you're presented with levels at random and asked to beat them. You get 3 lives and you're given a score based on your aptitude on each level. There are leaderboards attached to this mode, so you can stare in awe at the fact that some zen motherfucker presumably sat on a yoga mat and beat over 80 sequential levels without having their shit topple over more than 3 times. These levels don't even start easy. Sometimes you do get an easy one, and sometimes you get a dicey one straight off the bat. I had this one come up as the second stage, and I only beat this level in the arcade mode by what I assume to be luck and attrition. So, good job German Buddhist monk person. Next up we have Tower Tumble. Here you go head to head up to a total of 5 people. You take turns to choose and place a block, and you don't want to be the one who fucks up. It's kind of like Jenga. This is a good mode, except it's way easier to use a stylus than it is to use a Wiimote, and you can't choose to pass the gamepad around. So prepare to rest the Wiimote on your knee, hold it awkwardly with 2 hands, or any other way you can find to keep it steady. That or lower your heart rate to about 10 beats per minute, which might be what you're supposed to do. Maybe I'm just not zen enough. And exhale. Next, fingers gentle as we move into Adho Mukha Savannasoti, downward facing block. Swift Stacker mode is as it sounds. You compete to succeed at levels quickly to get point. This mode allows you to skip levels if you get stuck, so good job Shin'en, your attention to detail is appreciated. This mode also has online play, but I tried a few times and never managed to connect to anyone. However, if you have another friend with a Wii U, you will be able to coordinate a battle, but not for Tower Tumble. As far as problems go, I think the grabby hand icon takes up too much screen space. When you're playing with the stylus, it can be quite tricky to see what you're actually doing when you're using off-screen play. The times when I noticed this was probably in the double digits, and even when I had the TV on, it felt more natural to play on the gamepad. I think it's clear to see that this game has a significant level of polish, which isn't really that surprising since it's the 3rd time they've released it. The question really is this game worth the money? And the answer is probably yes. If you're looking up this puzzle game because you're interested in maybe trying it, then I have good news. It's a really solid game with significant length and leaderboards and multiplayer that can propel this into the truly crazy value for money range if you find yourself really enjoying it. Art of Balance for the Wii U is another solid title from Shin'en Games, and it's well at home on the Wii U eShop. I definitely look forward to more from these guys, as they've recently teased a kind of sort of maybe F-Zero looking thing. So fingers crossed that that's an improvement over the last one they tried. Once again, thank you for watching my video. I have more indie and not indie Wii U reviews coming up shortly, so hopefully I'll manage to bust out some rapid fire all up in this bitch. See you next time.